Brad? Are you sick of public transport yet?
I've actually quite enjoyed it, although I've got my views on infrastructure in Melbourne and what areas we can improve it. But no, the club's been great for me. I sort of did that off my own bat, and as soon as the club found out about that, they shut that down pretty quickly and organised some other transport for me. But I quite enjoyed being a man of the people.
Practically, and then the coach's box the next few weeks, how does it work? You still have to stand, or...?
Yeah, probably for the next few weeks. But I mean, I'm back to normal. I mean, I'm limited in some function, but in terms of coaching, I'm back on deck now, so it won't affect game day at all. Just be a little bit slower up and down the stairs, I think.
Sad day for the club, Brad, with Nathan Grimer retiring.
Well, it's a sad day in a way, Nick. I prefer to celebrate Nathan's career, and he's a story of persistence. He's a player who had to work really hard to get his opportunity to play football at the highest level, and I thought he did it with aplomb. Every coach really regards ultra-competitive people, and Nathan's the epitome of that. But he won't be lost to football. I think that he's got a really good media career ahead of him. I think he stands out in that area, and a savvy producer will get hold of him pretty quickly, and fans will still be able to see Nathan Grimer, but hear a different side of him. So, we celebrate his career. He's been a really important player to us, and he'll be sadly missed, but I think we'll see him on TV or hear him on radio pretty soon.
Have you spoken to him today?
I've spoken to him at length over the last 6 to 8 weeks.
What's his mood like with the retirement?
I like a lot of players. I mean, it's a lot of sadness mixed in with a touch of relief. He's had a real challenge overcoming injury, and he's played with injury in the past, and he's been a real warrior for our football club. So we're disappointed to lose him. But I think we look back at all the great moments in his career, and who could forget his first ever goal in AFL footy, and some of the great defensive jobs he did for us. So I said to Nani, you're in a good phase now, because every player who retires, career continues to get better and better each year you're retired. So we'll look back at him as one of the greats.
Is Lee Adams edging closer to a decision?
Well, the decision's out of his hands at the moment. There's a process that he's got to follow, which basically involves a certain period of time elapsing before the necessary tests can be undertaken. So that's frustrating for everyone at the moment, but there's just not a decision to be made. But we think probably in the next fortnight we're going to get some more information.
How did you assess the team's performance in your absence, Brad?
Oh, probably how we've gone this season. I mean, a fantastic win against West Coast, probably against the odds in the last quarter in a lot of ways. We've lost 7 quarters out of the last 16, which may not sound too bad, but the quarters we've lost have been really, really poor. And I think a function of that has been, something I've addressed with the leaders this week, is their effort to try and do something to change the course of the game. And we're always a football club that will always back ourselves to win from any position. And at 3/4 time in the Gold Coast game, very difficult from my perspective watching on TV at home, but dropped the Ablett tag. A lot of our senior players tried to win the game off their own boot. Knew we needed to kick a lot of goals in the last quarter, and that backfired, and we not only didn't kick goals, we got scored against. So we want to work towards becoming a really predictable, consistent team, and winning the right way, not taking risks or undue risks, and getting scored against on the back of that. So that's going to be a real focus in the second half of the year, and I think something that will really improve our consistency.
It's the biggest worry that you've said this before, and not just this year, but in previous years, and it doesn't seem to be getting a lot better.
Oh, I mean, everyone's wrong at times. I mean, you guys were all wrong this time last year when you said we were really struggling, and then we made the top 4. You're also wrong when you said a top 4 result means that we're going to win the flag this year. Now, I sincerely hope you're wrong again right now, and we'll prove you wrong in the second half of the year. We've got a lot of work to do to get that right. But there's still a lot of water to go under the bridge this year. There's not a person in Australia who would have predicted the current top 8. As I've said all pre-season and all season, this is the tightest competition that we've seen in the history of the game. And it's the most unpredictable. And so I don't think we're alone there. But no one can hide from the fact that our best is pretty good, but we can't reproduce it often enough.
Wayne Carey's been critical before, and he said today again that he believes this group is a bit mentally weak, and that might be part of the problem. What do you make of that criticism?
Oh, again, I don't worry about it at all. I mean, everyone's going to have their view and have their opinion. Some are even going to start writing opinion pieces. But you know, the reality is that we're worried about trying to get better. And as I said, everyone had an opinion this time last year too, and they were proven wrong. Everyone had an opinion in the pre-season, and so far they're being proven wrong. You know, so we're not going to worry about the fluctuations of people's opinions. You know, Richmond were a basket case 8 weeks ago. If you listen to the so-called experts, you know, we've got to focus on getting better. And if you've heard that before, that's because it was the same before.
Can you see why people have that view though, given some of your losses this year have been heavy?
Yeah, as I said, the heavy losses are partly as a result of we believe that we don't concede. We don't try and turn a loss into just a 3-4 goal loss and limit the damage. We try and win. And when you try and open up the game and try and win and score heavily, you can be vulnerable going back the other way. But I make no apologies for drilling our players in we believe we can win from any position, because that's the attitude we want to take. But we don't want to do it taking undue risks and some of the silly risks we took in the last quarter against the Gold Coast.
Brent Harvey was saying, I think the review of the game, Brad, revealed that some problems that have been consistent over the course of time. Is it a concern that you sort of haven't corrected those by now?
Yeah, it is. It is, because you'd like to snap your fingers and correct them straight away. But ultimately, we want players who are fiercely competitive, who are confrontational in their attitude and in their approach. And at times, we're not getting that. So we do have 39 players on our list who have played senior AFL football, and we'll pick the team based on performance. And it's as simple as that. And the players know that. And there won't be past performance. Won't be an indication of future selection.
Have you got enough of those fierce, combative types on your list?
I think if you compare us to other sides, I mean, every coach wants 22 of them each week. But the fact is, players bring different things to the table, and I think that when you look at our inside midfielders, they're as hard as any going around. So, and look at defence and forwards, we've got them there, but we need to gel better as a 22 to get it done on a consistent basis, and we'll keep picking the team based on that.
Brad, to turn things around, does it mean radical changes, do you think, or does it mean a bit of fine tuning?
Oh, look, I mean, we're not for a second accepting just the lacklustre performance that the players and the club produced against the Gold Coast. But the week before, we beat a GWS that, while probably undermanned in terms of some injuries, are sitting in the top 8. And the week before, we ran Sydney to a couple of kicks. The week before the Sydney game, we beat West Coast, who are going as well as anyone in the competition. So I'm as aware as anyone else that a week's a long time in football, and everyone's opinions can change really quickly, and that's been proven throughout this year. And in my experience, it's been proven in the last 12 months. So, I mean, I'm just not going to get caught up in that.
So you're just not worried?
I'm not worried about people's opinions. I think that's a really important point to make. I worry all the time. I'm worrying 24/7 about what we need to get better at. But I'm not going to get caught up in worrying about what someone thinks of us. I mean, that's their job to do that, and that's good, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. But too often, as coaches, we get asked to respond to someone's opinion when that's their opinion, and they're entitled to it. But I've got to do my job, and that's to set the standards, to coach this team really strongly, and to hold people accountable to it.
So what are the main things that need to be improved on, if you can pinpoint them?
Well, the point I made earlier, that when things aren't going our way, it's a good attribute for our leaders to think they've got to stand up, but at the moment they're going over and above and going outside of the way we want to play in an effort to try and change the course of the game. So we've got to be more consistent in our approach and predictable in our approach, and trust that approach will get us back from any position. We don't need to take undue risks as we did last week.
Geelong's preparation is a bit unusual for this game, 20 days between matches. Do you think that could have an impact on the game, potentially positive for you guys?
Oh, it's one of those great unknowns, isn't it? As Donald Rumsfeld said, it's you just don't know what impact this is going to have. Whether they're going to come out really fresh, whether they're going to come out a bit lethargic. We've all probably looked at the stats of teams coming off byes this year and how that's gone. But I mean, we just can't control that, so we'll focus on our own performance and plan for their best.
How confident are you to get Daniel Wells back on the park this season, Brad?
Well, we're confident enough that we took the advice of the experts to undergo a minor procedure with the view to getting him back this year. So if we weren't confident of getting him back, we would have just put him in for surgery and ruled him out for the rest of the year. So certainly the plan is to get him back. We think he'll start training in 7 to 10 days, and then it's just a matter of how quickly we can accelerate his training and get him back playing for us. But we're really hopeful.
What's it been like just watching from the outside? What do you think you've learned, or have you gained anything from it?
I've learnt that I don't want to ever do it again. Last week in particular was horrific. I have a better understanding of what supporters go through. It's just, and that's what I felt like at times. Even though I had a direct line to the box, it was that feeling of helplessness was just horrific. But I have had a chance to take a one out, one back approach and look at the bigger picture a little bit more. And I think me in particular will go into the second half of the year with a different perspective on what we need to improve. I've seen some things that perhaps I haven't seen on match day before that you see on TV. And a lot of it's perception, the way players are perceived, the way they act, their body language, all those things have been probably brought into sharper focus. So we'll do something about that this week.
If you're on the Carlton coaching subcommittee, would you be having a close look at Darren Crockett?
Well, I would. Darren's firstly got to decide what he wants to do. But in terms of capabilities, I've always said he's a senior coach in waiting. He's just got to make that decision to commit if he wants to. But we'd hate to lose him. But the way he's led the team over the last 4 weeks, I think, has been fantastic, and that's been the universal feedback from all the players and staff. So, he's a really capable football person, and we've seen a lot of really experienced assistant coaches go on to be senior coaches and do it quite well.
Is the last 4 weeks maybe lit a bit of a fire back in him that may have gone?
I think that's a question best directed at Darren, but look, I know that he's given a really senior role here at North, and I know he really enjoys that, and probably 12 months ago that was the view he had on his football career. But whether that's changed or not, I think he'll have to have a think about that over the next couple of weeks.
Beautiful. Thanks, Brad.